Hello, welcome to the video on the big bore install on this Peugeot 50cc Trekker. 2003 model, starts fine, runs okay. It's got a nice little pipe on it already. Needs a bit of love, but we're gonna take it apart. We've got a few bits to put on it. We've got a big bore kit from Malossi. Done one of these before, they're pretty good. And stage 6 variator to replace the variator, a racing clutch, the new belt to go on, and also we've got a quick action throttle to give it a bit of more response. A couple of other bits and pieces, got a new filter, new plug. It did come with this other carb. I'm not sure whether it's going to be any good. We'll have to take a look at it, strip it down, chuck it in the ultrasonic cleaner, and it might be better than the one that's in it. We don't know, but I'll try and show as much of the process. But first thing to do is to strip the bike, so I will try and do a time lapse on that and see how we go. Just a quick cut in to show the bike now stripped. All of the plastics are off. There are some screws and stuff missing on this, but you know, it's a 2003 bike, so general condition is not amazing, but it'll clean up nicely. I'll stick the battery on charge in a minute. I'll probably whip the old back end out, take it outside and degrease it all, give it a clean up before I strip it down. Just whenever you do that, you always want to make sure that any holes are plugged, intake, outlet, and obviously bag up any electrics so they're not going to get completely covered in water. Yeah, the rest of it you find the electrics are in a bit of a mess, but it's not going to go back on the road. It is just for a little moped race that we do, just a bit of fun really. Yep, I'll carry on. I'll stick you back on time lapse and see where we get to. Okay, we're almost ready to take the engine out now. It's much easier to get to everything this way. You just have to disconnect all of the main feeds. Obviously, you've got your feeds from the fuel tank to the carb, throttle feed. I'll whip the airbox off. I do need to disconnect a few more bits and pieces when I get it outside and cap them all off before I cover it in any degreaser, so I can just clean off all of the gunk and everything, just so it's easier. Really, on these, the best way to do it, obviously, as you can see, I've supported it. Obviously, wood isn't the best thing, but it's what I've got, so I'm what I'm working with. And really, the only things that connect the actual engine and all the body to the frame is the shock connection, which is there, which obviously connects onto there, one bolt there. And then through the frame, there's a body connection here, which is there, and that pivots on there. There'll be some bushes in there. I'll check those out to see if they're worn. They'll probably be fine for what we're doing. But yeah, disconnect the wiring harness. So the wiring harness would come through, clips on here, comes through and connects onto these bits. It's all simple. You don't need to worry too much because it's color coded and the connections are male and female opposing, so not to worry. I've just got to disconnect the oil feed line, and what I normally do is I'll either try and crimp them off with something soft, or I just get a small bolt, pop a bolt in the end, and then that way it won't leak out. And yeah, I'll get Get the engine out, take it outside, clean it up, and I'll cut back in when I'm ready to start taking the head off, ready for the big bore kit. We'll go from there. Okay, that's all the back end stripped out. It's much easier to get to everything now. Still need to degrease and clean all up inside there. It's just easier to work on when it's clean. I need to put some kind of attention into that stand because it's not performing correctly either. But we'll get onto that later. So, now strip the back end out. The engine is out. Just leaving it here in soak for a minute. As you can see, I've capped off all of the holes with some plastic. I am going to use a light jet wash on it, but obviously I'm going to keep it away from any electrics and not going to be driving it straight to there. I am going to strip this carb down and rebuild it. I just don't want anything going into the engine really if I can avoid it. It just means now when I strip it apart I can actually get to everything easily and not have filthy dirty hands like I've got right now. Okay, I'm going to take the head off now and the bore, remove the piston and replace it with a new one. I'll do it all in one take so you can see the process. First things first is you need to take off all of the head bolts. I normally take these apart in a like a star pattern from diagonals, and we'll go from there. So starting in this corner, they're never really tight. Loosen that one off. Loosen that one off. Loosen that one off. Loosen that one off. Now they're all loose, should be able to just pull that out in one go. There's the old head. Keep the bolts, you'll need the bolts. It's not too bad. I normally set the piston to top dead centre. Remove that gasket. Sometimes they're loose, sometimes just give them a little tap. That one's, I need a tap. So, obviously not a hard blow with a normal hammer, normally a dead blow hammer, but I haven't got one, so just give it a tap. There we go, see it went loose. And now, I'm going to pull the whole lot out. The piston will remain because it's connected to the com rod. As you come out, be careful with it. Gently pull it away. And there's your old barrel. It's not in bad shape. Now you have to remove the piston. Obviously be careful you don't drop anything down inside. Remove the gudgeon pin. Now, the gudgeon pin is that piece in the middle. You have to drift that out. drift it out from the other side, leave the other circlip in, gudgeon pin. Here we go, that's the old piston. So now there's a bearing on the top end of the con rod that will need to be oiled up well before it goes back in. I'll just give it a blow off and a clean to make sure there's no grit or anything in there. And then we've got our new kit. Comes with a piston. There's the new barrel. So the piston comes with new gudgeon pin, new circlips. The rings. They're in the barrel. Pop those out. Now you have two rings, and on the piston you'll see there's two marks. That's where the ring should sit, the closing part of the ring. You have to be careful with these because if you overstretch them they'll just break. You can be gentle with them, just ease that on, ease it past the first one, don't let it go into the first one because you won't get the second one on. Once it's on, slide it round so that it locates with the pin in the right place. If you don't do that and you try and put the piston in, the ring will definitely break. You must make sure that's lined up correctly. These aren't directional, they can go both ways. Second ring, pop it in gently, slide it to position. There we go. Just make sure that those pins, you probably can't see that, make sure that the pin lines up with the break in the ring. Okay, so next port of call is to just get that ready to go. I'm quickly going to blow that off and put some oil on it. I'll probably just use a bit of two-stroke just to make sure it's compatible. One thing it's worth noting is that on the bottom of the engine where it meets, this will need to be cleaned off. I'll just have to do that quickly. Okay, now that's cleaned off, and start assembling the piston for install. Okay, bit awkward to get in, but use a pair of circlip pliers, sight part of it inside, and then just gently squeeze it and it'll pop in. The second one's going to be a bit more difficult, obviously, because I've got to do that while it's in position. One thing worth noting is that there is an arrow on top of the piston, and that arrow must go towards the outlet port, so where the exhaust goes. So if your exhaust comes out the front, it goes out the front. If the exhaust goes out the back, it must go out the back. So now that's ready to go. I'll pop that in to oil that bearing. There you go. Surprisingly, the kit didn't come with a top end bearing, but that one feels okay, so there we go. Next thing, the gudgeon pin, second circlet there. Now remember the arrow to the front. These are going to be quite tight, it's an interference fit. Get started. Line it up with the bearing, little wiggle. And send it home. Now for the circlip. Just make sure that it's in its location correctly. You don't want that coming out. Okay. Now it's time to slip the bore on. Remember to take all the plastic out first. I've blown it all away, but we'll get rid of the plastic. First thing to go on will be the base gasket for the bore. You don't need to put anything particular on these, any sealant or anything, just stick them down. Note the orientation of the original. Offer that into position. Now you've got to slip the piston inside the bore. Obviously make sure that you get your rings in the right position. Gently. There you go. Don't pinch the gasket. There we go. Let's drop a little bit of oil down inside the bore. Just so on first start up, it's got some lubrication, not going dry. It'll smoke a bit on start up, but it's a two-stroke. Here we go, it's not completely dry. Lovely. Comes with an outlet gasket for the exhaust and a ring for the head. Take the new head. There's a little groove inside the head to put the gasket in. There we go, that's seated down. Normally just pop a couple of bolts in. There we go. There we go. Now you need to torque them down. A torque wrench. 12 Newton meters is sufficient according to the online handbook that I just read. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's the big bore kit installed. I've got some more to do, but I'll drop back in when I'm on the next thing.